Welcome to the Shrewdness. We are so excited about this baseball-focused endeavor. As teased in prior episodes, we are doing 15 to 20-minute primers for each MLB team to prepare you for this 2025 season, to help you with your fantasy baseball drafts and future bets, or simply to improve your knowledge as the season begins. From the projected starters to the prospects, we will touch it all and give our shrewd takes on the key to their success. So sit back, take some notes, and enjoy the show.
Hey, Shrewdness fans. Welcome to another episode of the Shrewdness. Prue, Chiz, and Dex are here, and we're talking about our baseball teams for the 2025 Major League Baseball season. We are close to the end. We just have a few teams remaining. Tonight we are going to talk about the New York Mets, and Chiz is going to lead us through the episode. Take it away, Chiz.
The New York Metropolitans, ladies and gentlemen, always seem to be in the shadow of the Yankees. It doesn't seem to matter who they get, what they do. They're always like a little bit in the shadow of the Yankees, the evil empire. But they got a really interesting team. So it's going to be fun to look at them this year. If you look at last year.
Well, and their new owner is trying to pull them out of that shadow and make them the big shadow. So the fact there's now a spending war in New York, that could be fun. I mean, not for everybody else, but for New York teams, you're going to have, oh yeah. And we'll get to the key acquisition this year, I'm sure. But yeah, go ahead and go into next last year. But the new owner, everyone wants an owner like the goddamn Mets have. Like, money is no option.
That's right.
Who do we need? Who do we get? Because you'll see a transformation in this roster from a couple years ago. It's full of
and to your point, they fired the first crosstown shot this offseason to try and show that they are legit, and they are not going to be in the shadow anymore. So if you look at them last year and what they were slated to do. So last year they lost an NLCS to the Dodgers 4-2. So they took the champs, to 6 games. So they obviously had a really good year last year. They were supposed to, the Dakota number last year was 83. The over-under was 81.5, and they actually hit 89 wins. So they were positive by 6 or 7.5, depending on what you looked at there.
They're punching above their weight class last year.
Yeah, the Fangraphs was at 83 as well. So this year, Fangraphs said, we're going to go a little higher, and Dakota did the same. Fangraphs had them at 87. Dakota, though, is kind of strange. They have it 92, and over-unders at 91.5. So that's a lot of wins right there.
A 10-game jump is big. They must have done something in the offseason.
I know. I wonder if they got who's going to have 10 games over replacement value.
It's almost
something like that.
Almost like you had a really big war acquisition or something. So they're also, as Dex said, they are not afraid to spend anymore. So $332 million payroll this year.
That's more than the Yankees, right?
Change. That is a chunk of change.
Yankees are 389, I think, or something.
Oh,
Yankees are.
I just did them. I can't remember what the dang payroll was.
389. I mean, it's still ridiculous. $332 million is a lot of money, and you'll see why, especially as we start to dig into it. I will say though, before we dive into the lineup, I was a little surprised at how top heavy it was for that kind of money. So we'll talk a little bit about that, but I'd love to get you guys' thoughts on it. But it's really interesting because we'll dive in. The first guy is the leadoff hitter Francisco Lindor, 31-year-old shortstop who had a 7.8 WAR last year.
Stud.
At 31, hit 273, 844 OPS, 33 home runs, 91 RBIs, 29 stolen bases, and was second in the MVP voting. Crazy. That's a pretty good year for a 31-year-old shortstop. So
yeah, it is.
The dude is legit. He's a great leadoff hitter. It's going to be really interesting to see if he can repeat that this year, because those are numbers you wouldn't expect, necessarily at that stage, but we'll see. He's getting paid well, and all of these top four guys are getting paid really well. So this is where they've spent a lot of the money, that and then the pitching, which we'll talk about. What do you guys think of Lindor? Any comments on him besides the fact that he's just a stud?
Let me correct my earlier statement. So 389 was what the Dodgers payroll is.
Oh, okay, that's right. That's right.
I don't
Because
remember what
it was 389, but it was a fake 389 because Otani's money is
Otani $2
not counted in there, right?
So I'm not sure what the Yankees was in relation to the 332 by the Mets, but they got to be close.
In relation to Lindor, though, last year was his fourth season in New York, and his first year after they came from Cleveland, they got him in his year 27 season, and everything was all great, except he wasn't. He had a very poor year his first year in New York.
Yep.
But ever since, though, and he's had 26 homers, 107, 31, 98, 33, 91. He's batted 270 for the most part. He's had about a 340 on base, and he's had about an 800 plus OPS average over those 3 years, last three. So he's a stud, and I don't see really anything that's slowing him down because, like you said, Chiz, in an earlier episode, the smaller guys just don't seem to break. Like Altuve, I think, who we were talking about in the first one.
Yeah.
Like they're kind of ageless because they don't have big bodies that get broken, and he's just a littler dude, more lithe, and I think he's going to do just fine again. I have no concerns for Francisco Lindor. And when you look at his games, 161, 160, 152 the last 3 years. That's durable. Crazy. So Francisco Lindor.
Out of a leadoff hitter who's a shortstop, he's getting a lot of at-bats. He's involved in a lot of plays in the field. And like you said, he's not missing games.
No, back-to-back silver sluggers.
And is he getting like 700 plate appearances a year if he's playing every day in the leadoff?
Yeah.
I mean, he's going to be.
He's just under like 689 last year, 687 the year before, then 706 3 years ago.
Yeah,
that's right.
That's a lot of opportunity to put up numbers for your fantasy team.
So what's funny about Lindor, I didn't realize he was second in MVP last year.
Yeah.
Like it was Otani and then him. That's nuts. I didn't know it's a good season, but I guess I didn't realize it was that good.
I mean, I think because of the fact that like he made everything go for that team last year. If you look at the rest of the offense from a WAR standpoint, he was in a league by himself.
He was carrying them.
Like it was completely. I mean, they had some other guys that hit for some power, like Alonso, which we'll talk about. But in terms of like the ability to get on base with the frequency that he does, I mean, a 344 clip. As your leadoff guy, he's the real deal. And like you said, if you can get him, the Mets actually are outspending the Yankees this year. So the Yankees,
that's what I thought. I knew there's
payroll.
That's what I'd heard.
Is below 300. It's like 288. So
okay.
What I like about Lindor, he's just really a rich man's Bobby Witt.
Yeah, right.
Normally it's the other way around, but he's just doing a little bit worse than Bobby Witt is for like, I don't know, the league minimum plus a little bit. Even though he did sign extensions, so I know Bobby's making more now. Right. Francisco is making substantially more in his deal and delivering you not quite the same numbers. Go Bobby.
No.
Go Bobby.
No.
And it's just one of those things, though. He's done it for a long time. For a very long time, Lindor's been highly consistent in I don't even know how many All-Stars are on there, a lot of them. And he's been on the MVP ballot nearly every year. So Francisco Lindor, stud. That's a great way to start your lineup.
Yeah, he still got it. He'll make that team go again this year.
He's an awesome starting place. But the second guy was the shot fired around New York, heard around New York. Mr. Juan Soto, the most,
never heard of him.
Probably the desired free agent outside of Otani in a long time. He's a Yankee. You figure if the Yankees want to keep him, the Yankees are going to keep him, right? Not so fast, my friend, said the Mets. They came in, stole the 26-year-old, signed a 15-year deal.
Wow.
15 years, ladies and gentlemen. That means through the age 41 season of
He's
Soto.
going to be so good in his early 40s, like
He's
everyone
gonna be
is.
phenomenal in the early 40s.
Like
He's
all those
making
outfielders age well.
totally, especially slumming outfielders. They're really known for that age. He's only making 51 million a year. So
Peanuts.
it's a little contract the Mets pulled out and said,
50
you know
wasn't
what,
enough.
for your 8.1 WAR, we're gonna pay you 51 million a year. Last year he had 288, a 988 OPS, 41 homers and 100. This is what's crazy: 128 runs and 109 RBIs.
That's
You
kind of
know,
crazy.
he's a 4-time All-Star, 5-time Silver Slugger. He's won a batting title. He's a decent little player, I would say.
You can't even win
And
an
so-
MVP, though.
Right? Right.
Worthless.
I mean, they overpaid, clearly.
Yeah.
So I think that to have these two guys at the top of your lineup is about as good. This is the closest thing as the Dodgers as you're going to see in terms of like a 1-2 punch, right? So, hey, what do you guys think on Soto? You got your right fielder sewn up for at least the next 5 or 6, 7 years till he breaks down.
Yeah, I mean,
Then you put him at DH, I guess.
he's 26 years old this year. He's in his 8th season, and his career on base is 420.
Jeez.
He's 26. His career on base after 944 games is 420. His slugging,
That's
531.
stupid.
His batting average, 284. And here's the stat of stats: 775 walks, 700 strikeouts.
No way.
That's right. More walks than Ks in his career. He's 26. He's supposed to be learning the game and getting mastered until he figures it out. Is he going to get better? Holy crap. If Juan Soto gets better than this, maybe he'll finally actually win an MVP.
Have we seen anybody have more walks and strikeouts like that? I mean, in recent memory,
And he's
it's
hitting
like
41
Bonds,
home
right?
runs,
Is the last
too.
one I can remember.
He's not hitting 4 home runs. He's hitting 41 home runs.
Right.
And striking out less than he walks.
Yeah. It's
That's
not like
amazing.
Tony Gwynn,
No.
right?
Yeah. That
Right.
was like
Who-
38 to 30 or 20,
Right.
whatever it was.
Right.
But he wasn't getting 130 walks. I mean, Aaron Judge, he walks a ton, but he strikes out, I think, 170 last season. So he's still has a ridiculous stat line, but he doesn't walk more than he strikes out. That is rare. And for a slugger, God, you might be right. He might be the only one. I know Ohtani and Acuna, they're both very close. Actually, maybe it wasn't Ohtani. Acuna for sure. I think he was like 84 to 88 his MVP year 2 years ago. But it's a very short list when you start
It's
looking at that.
a tiny list. Speaking of Acuna, that's who Juan Soto came in second for the Rookie of the Year voting too.
Yeah,
So,
it wasn't Ohtani. Ohtani strikes out a crap load too. So I was thinking someone else.
That was a decent 1-2 punch there that year with Acuna at 1 and Soto at 2 in Rookie of the Year voting. So yeah, he's been in the MVP voting 5 different years. He's been in the top 10, but he hadn't pulled one down. He hadn't pulled down the old MVP yet, so he's still got some stuff to shoot for. But it's gonna be fun to see him. He's a great, exciting player to watch for sure.
Amazing ball player.
Back in the National League. The third hitter is a fan favorite and a guy who they were rumored to be shopping in the offseason.
The polar bear.
The polar bear, Alonso, also known as Mr. Home Run Derby. He is just straight power. He is a good old fashioned I'm not gonna necessarily hit for average. I hit about 240. My WAR is 2. That's just what I am. Like, I'm better than an average first baseman. I'm gonna get people super excited about my moon shots.
That's right.
4 home runs and 88 RBIs, and he's just fun. People like him. He's a likable character, but
for
they
sure.
were shopping him in the off season. It was really interesting. I was like, huh, they must think that Pete's better days are behind him. He's only
Probably
30, but he
right.
is a slugger, and he's probably not going to get better from this point. But he's not on a downside yet, and he's still hitting over 30 home runs a year. So having him backing up Soto is still pretty formidable for a top three. And I feel like, you know, I'm not exactly sure what they were wanting, but whatever it was they were searching for, they did not get in the trade market. People were unwilling to bite, and so it's just kind of like a pretty poorly kept secret that they were seeing what the market was for Pete. We'll see how he responds to that this year, but the fans are still going to love him and want him in the to produce because he is a fan favorite and a
You
good
gotta
backup.
you gotta have plenty of opportunities this year to drive runners in.
That's
Oh
it.
yeah,
With those two ahead of him, they're going to be on base a lot. So,
for
It
sure.
is. And I think he's mid 30s. He should get over 100 RBIs. I mean, Juan Soto is going to be on base 500%, like 50% of the time.
Yep.
500 on base, and Lindor's ahead of him with his a paltry like 350.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
And he's often going to be at second because he cranks a bunch of doubles. And same with Soto. I mean, he's not just hitting dingers. And
That's right.
so when we said 41 homers last year, well, he also had 31 doubles. That's
Yeah, that's right.
pretty good. That's helpful.
I mean, and it's not like if you look at his, he was there's another guy who was rookie of the year. So he
Yeah,
was rookie of the year. His rookie year, he had 53 home runs that year. So, while he
amazing.
only had 34 last year, if you look at his first 5 years in the majors, his second year you kind of got to throw out because he was only in for 57 games. In those 57 games, he still had 16 homers, but you take that second year out, it goes 53, 37, 40, 46, and 34.
Yeah,
So 34 is, I guess, a down year for him. So maybe they're afraid that things are dropping off somewhat. But, he still hit 240. He's been an all-star the last 3 years. He's been, so he's not chopped liver. He
no,
just doesn't look quite as exciting now with Juan Soto batting before him.
yeah, but he's still going to deliver just fine. He's absolutely value added. I mean, Pete Alonso, for one, he's kind of clutch too. Like he seems to get momentous hits at big
Yeah, he
times.
does.
And it's not just a home run derby, but I love the fact that also for a fan, he's going to be in it. He loves the summer derby and home runs and just hitting them
Totally.
for the fans and doing
Totally.
everything. So he's got my props. But yeah, home run
That's
derby. I
what you
love it when the
want.
real people that you want in there actually
yes,
do it.
Yeah.
totally. Yep.
That's fun.
And
So
let's give him
respect.
props for the fact that he didn't miss a game last year.
Yeah.
62 games, he played every single one of them. So,
I think he's
there's a
played
lot to
every
love
single
about him.
game for the most part since he's come up. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know if he's missed more than a handful.
That one age 25 season, his second year, he had some injury issues. Outside of that, he's
Well, that
played
was
every game.
that was a 2020 year though, and I don't know if they played many more games than that.
Oh, you're right.
So he played
You're
57. I
right.
think they only played 60.
You're right. Yeah, that's absolutely right. Good
I'm not
catch.
100%
That
sure.
was
It's around 60. Whatever that season was short.
it was a short year. You're right. So you're right. He just suits up.
Yep, every
Probably
day
another reason people love him.
for sure. All right, so who's
Um,
behind him?
the hidden cleanup in the 4 spot left field, Brandon Nimmo, and he's 32 years old. He just turned 32, um, and he's been around for 8 years. But he's one of those guys that's kind of flown under the radar. Like when you're like big names, nobody's talking much about Brandon Nimmo, but he's very quietly productive.
Yes.
And if you look at what he did last year, he didn't have a great year average wise, 220, 224, but still had 23 home runs. He 727 OPS. So he's a productive player. And if you look at his career statistics, and he was a second round draft pick coming up. He's been with the Mets his whole career, so he's
Yep.
a homegrown dude.
I like that.
He's kind of started to get better and better in the last 3 years in particular. His power numbers have gone up. He has just been a lot more consistent. So last year was a bit of a dip for him in terms of average. He really usually hits more like in the 260, 270 range. So for him to hit that low was a little bit strange. But I think they expect that he's going to bounce back from that and still be very productive in that 4-hole.
Yeah, I think so too. I mean, he's a solid professional hitter, and I think that's what the takeaway is. That many people, when they view Brandon Nimmo, he's good. I mean, no one's really. I mean, he's not a hole in the lineup for sure, and he plays good defense. By all accounts, he's a solid teammate. So I like him.
Now I forgot.
I thought he was a better glove than a bat. That's kind of what I had heard in the past about him. But
yeah.
If you're saying that more like a 260 hitter, that's above average in today's league. So.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think he definitely, when he came into the league, he was known more for the glove, and I think he's evolved the bat, which has really, really helped him. Definitely the power numbers. And it's really interesting because you look at those 4 hitters. Last year, the Mets were 28th in the league in batting average. So they did not hit the ball well outside of Lindor and, occasional Alonso pop. So the Soto acquisition is a really, really important move because the pitching staff was really good last year. And we'll talk about them, but they had a really good staff last year. And so the fact that they're investing in the hitting, the fact that they got to the NLCS and went 6 games with the Dodgers says, they weren't that far away anyway.
Right. Yeah.
So, it's a pretty cool thing that if you're a fan, to see them go out and get the biggest free agent hitter you could get, it's got to be pretty exciting. Now, the challenge comes when you get after the 4 hitter. So Nimmo, he's not as exciting as Alonso, Soto, Lindor, but the 5, when you go 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, you look at those top 4, it's a pretty exciting lineup. But then you look at these bottom 5 and you go, who are these guys? Well, it's a lot of guys that have not played full seasons. That's who. As I started looking them up, and I'm like, these are guys that were like platoon dudes, or, they played some because of injury, but none of them really played that much last year. So Mark Vientos, third baseman, is 25 years old. He's got a decent WAR, 2.9. In 111 games, he had 27 RBIs. I'm sorry, he had 27 home runs in 111 games. So
yeah, he's like, don't shortchange me, bro.
Yeah, that's some promise. Of the guys at the bottom lineup, he's the one that's kind of most exciting to potentially see because he's got a strong OPS. But he didn't play full season last year. If you look at, and he's their third baseman. But he's not he's definitely not in the same league. He was a second-round draft pick in 2017, but he's only played a little over a season in the majors. So yeah, he's not gotten a lot of experience yet. So we don't know what we got there. And he's the next guy. Then you go Jesse Winker. Jesse Winker, household name.
He's been around the block, though. Jesse Winker was been
around.
He was a big Reds prospect coming up.
He was.
And then he went, and I think he played for
right.
Seattle, and then maybe Cleveland. I don't even know. Somewhere. Thought he went somewhere else.
He's just Jesse Winker.
Yeah.
It's
he walks a little bit.
There's nothing super exciting about Jesse Winker, and he's your DH. So, you would hope your DH puts a little more fear to somebody since he's DH.
He ain't putting fear in anybody.
Nah, he's a 243 hitter. He's just kind of there. He's a warm body.
Yeah.
You get down to Jose Siri. Hey, Siri, can you give me a hit? No, I cannot, because I hit 187.
The answer is no.
I don't understand the question.
Yeah, they definitely don't understand. And Jose Siri, as a center fielder, doesn't understand how to get on base because he had a 255 OBP last year. That's right, 255. Not average, OBP. 1 out of 4 times your center fielder is getting to first. That's not solid. So Jose Siri was a guy they picked up in the trade with Tampa.
Tampa's like, I can't believe they took him. To
Right?
reiterate one of your lines from a previous episodes, one man's trash is another man's trash.
That's exactly right.
1.9 WAR must have been a lot of solid defense out there in center field.
Right? Yeah. He is a 1.9 WAR, and you're exactly right, Pruitt. The dude has a glove. He could definitely play D, which would have been great for a 1980s player, probably.
Like him and Mookie.
Or a 9-hitter
Mookie Wilson
on this team, but he's hitting 7th.
He's hitting 7th. Then you go to Brett Beatty, and Brett Beatty is a dude who was like tons of promise. He's 12th overall pick, first rounder in 2019. Only managed to get 50 games in the majors last year, and he hit a whopping 229 with 306 OBP out of your second baseman. There's just not a lot at the bottom of this lineup to scare anybody.
Yeah, do you remember the hype train just a few years ago when Brett Beatty was coming up?
Oh my gosh.
Third base, and like, oh my gosh, third baseman of the future. We have the new, what's his name? The Mets' best player, like in the last 2 decades.
David Wright.
David Wright. Thank goodness we almost blew that. Like, you guys don't even know baseball. But so David Wright, they were comparing him like, oh, thank God we got the third baseman of the future. And boy, did he just not be that. And he's only 25. Again, I always give a little bit, but now
he's got a chance to still turn it around.
Yeah, but now Mark Vientos appears to have third base locked down. So now there's like, where else can you play, Brent? How about over there at second base? We can put our lesser players there.
He hits more like a second baseman.
He does.
There's that.
Yeah.
So, maybe he comes on this year and finally fulfills that potential. But this bottom half, and then it rounds out with Luis Torrens, who's going to be evidently playing center field too. No, that's not right.
He's playing somewhere.
They need a catcher, Chiz.
Right, left, who's catching. He's catching for them.
Or am I? I've always been a center fielder on the inside. I identify as a fast outfielder.
He always dreamed of playing center. They put him behind the plate squatting. It's super awe-inspiring bat either. 229, 292 OBP, 665 OPS. He played 47 games for him, catcher last year. So, like, the bottom half of the lineup is just like, what happened? So, it's a definitely lopsided lineup, and they're going to have a couple of these guys do something and fulfill some potential in a few of their cases to have. This is why they were 28th in the league last year.
How did they get to the NLCS with this squad?
Well, they're pitching. Their pitching, which we'll talk about in a bit, was really, really, really good.
So they got Thor and the Black Knight. They got all those guys probably, I guess, right?
Yeah, right. They got Thor. They got the Black Knight.
It's been a minute.
They definitely, they definitely did not bat their way to the NLCS last year.
Francisco says, "Excuse me, sir. I believe one of us did."
This offense is getting heavy.
How many suitcases am I pulling here?
Yeah.
A lot of baggage.
I mean, last year their primary catcher was Francisco Alvarez.
Maybe Travis Darno might be available.
Right?
And Shrewdness, if you missed that, Chisholm was struggling to get that name out of his hat for Atlanta. Too many silent letters and apostrophes. So, why are they making it lowercase? That's not how it looks. It's supposed to be a capital D last name. Thank God it's a Rangers problem now. No, just kidding.
That's right.
It's not even a Rangers problem anymore. Yeah, it is.
Yeah. Well, and last year, if you're wondering who they lost, they had Harrison Bader playing center field last year.
That's right.
It's not like that's a big bat to replace. He was a 236 hitter.
He's tearing it up for the Twinkies so far, though, baby. Harrison.
Right, he is. That's right. And the big name that all Mets fans have known for a while is Starling Marte.
Yeah.
And
he's not even starting anymore?
Starling Marte is, he is. They tried really hard to trade him in the offseason. And a matter of fact, the Royals were one of the teams that they were trying to trade him to.
That would have been good.
He lost his starting spot, so he's coming off the bench. The dude has a pedigree. He's had a couple really good years, but but he's 36 as an outfielder, so they're trying to turn the page there. But those are the two kind of losses that they had. Oh, and Jose Iglesias as well. But again,
he's a heck of a singer.
Jose, yeah.
That's his brother Julio.
He and Julio do some wonderful collabs. But, they just don't have much in the bottom half of that lineup. But let's talk about the pitching staff. So last year, if you look at who they had in the pitching staff, they had Jose Quintana, who left to go to the Brewers. They had Luis Severino, who went and signed with the A's. But they did have, a pretty good group of folks. Sean Manaea, who was probably the most, and by the way, another Royal. Sean Manaea came up with the Royals organization and was part of early trades, so he never got to see.
Did we trade him to the A's? I thought he came up with the A's.
We traded him to the A's during our World Series run. I'm trying to remember. It was for the reliever. Do you remember the reliever that we had from the A's? What was his name? Can't remember. Anyway,
Dennis Eckersley
for Manaea. Yeah, Eckersley.
The Eck.
All right. So this is the most interesting thing. The guy they have as their ace this year. It's a guy you've heard of, Clay Holmes, another ex-Yankee.
From the Yanks.
Except Clay Holmes
Yankee reliever.
was not a starter. Clay Holmes was a reliever. And they've slotted him in as their ace starter this year. They're sold on the fact that this guy is going to be a starter for them. He's a super high K guy, 9.7 Ks per 9, was a really, really solid reliever for the Yankees, but somehow he's the starter, and he's going to be their ace. So this is going to be a super
I don't know if he's going to be their ace. He's just the one that pitched first.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah, I mean, I think Sean Manaea and, Senga, we'll get to him, but I think it would have been him on the bump earlier, but I think for whatever reason, spring training, he needed to get stretched out, and so they wanted to put him into the second week.
I think that's right.
But regardless, I hear what you're saying, but I don't think anybody in New York thinks, Clay Holmes is our ace, bro. I think he pitched first.
It's just it's a very strange, for a team that was as good as they were, I found it odd that they were like, this was a strategy. Maybe it's going to look brilliant. Maybe the Yankees would have said, man, we should have made that guy a starter and kept him around. But he obviously wants to start, and the Mets are like, let's do it. So we'll see. At age 32, he's never really been a starter, so we'll see how he does.
That's how Ronaldo Lopez did for the Braves last year, and we talked about that one in the Braves episode. Even though I'm not sold he's going to do it again. I mean, he did have a 1.99 ERA last year, and 20 upper 20 starts. So Clay Holmes, there's a blueprint for it, and it can work.
That's right. No, it can. It can. They follow that up, and like I said, Sean Manaea is a guy he was a 2.8 WAR. He's got an oblique issue. He's going to be back soon. Frankie Montas is a guy that they signed in the offseason, and he's going to be. They got him from the Brewers, very solid. They also got a guy, Griffin Canning, who's slated as their 3 starter. He was just an absolute freaking train wreck with the Angels, and I remember this guy watching him. He was a highly touted guy. He's got a lot of, potential. The dreaded potential word rears its ugly head again. But that potential equaled a 5.19 ERA and 140 WHIP. Yes, last year with the Angels, which is just god awful, and only 6.8 Ks per 9. So maybe a new scene for him kind of unlocks some of that potential.
Well, it can't do worse.
It can't do worse. Cannot do worse. Tyler Meagle, a guy who was their 5-starter last year.
Hello, Schmeagle.
My precious. 4.04 ERA. None of these guys have great whips. They're all like 130, 140, 120. Cody Senga, like you said, Dex, he had a great WAR last year, 4.5. He's a 2.98 ERA, 122 guy, but that wasn't last year. It was 2 years ago because he was out last year.
Yeah.
He only pitched 5 innings last year. He's coming back from an injury.
5 great innings.
Yeah, 5 wonderful innings. But he was an all-star in 23, and in 23 he averaged almost 11 strikeouts per 9 innings. So
that dude
is
comfortable
legit.
lounging back there, Chiz. So far from the mic.
That's true. That's true. I don't need to get too comfy because I want everyone to hear the brilliance that is coming from between these ears about Cody Singa.
Ears? There we go.
And Cody Singa, this is a staff that I have to say, I think 2 months from now looks significantly different than what it looks this week.
Yeah.
Because I think what it probably looks like is Singa, Manaea, Montas, Holmes, and
What's up, Holmes?
Probably McGill or Canning as your 5, right?
I would think so.
Probably what it looks like.
I mean, Sean Manaea, he had a resurgence last year, so he did it worked for Chris Sale. Let me try it. And he started throwing from this super weird angle, way off to the side, and it worked. He had a 3.47 ERA. He dropped a run from the year before, and 32 starts last year, and he was 12-6 or 12-8, something like that. And he was good and really good going down the stretch, and he was a big part of that. So when he comes back, he's, I think, the real number 1. I think Frankie Montes or Singa is probably the real number 2 and 3.
Yeah.
So really, their best guys aren't really fully operational yet. The Death Star's not fully operational.
Yeah, that's right.
But it will be soon, and they're going to need the offense the top half of the offense to carry them for a little bit, I think.
I'm looking at their stats so far into the regular season, and they're still giving up lots of base runners, but they are striking out folks. So McGill, Canning, and Holmes all have 10 strikeouts in roughly 10 innings.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
2 starts apiece. But walk totals are 4, 5, and 6. So they've walked 15 in a total of 30 innings.
That's
not great.
That's not where you want to be. I mean, I think it's going to be what's the most interesting part about this staff to me is the switch from Severino and Quintana to whoever's going to pick up the slack. Because, those are guys, I mean, that was basically their 1 and 3 starters last year.
Yep.
And now you lose both those guys, and you're hoping that Manaea is still there, but you're hoping that these other guys fill in and can turn the corner for you. That's probably the most interesting part if you're a Mets fan to see if it can do it. Because if it does, and they do fulfill the potential, if you could get something out of a Griffin Canning, if Singa comes back to his 23 form, if the Clay Holmes experiment works out, then all of a sudden you're like, man, our staff is stellar. We're looking really good. But that's a lot of ifs, and that's the thing that's a little bit scary if you're a Mets fan coming into it.
I think there's a lot riding on Juan Soto's shoulders.
Yeah.
They dropped 2 starters. They pull him in. They didn't add other bats to that lineup. He's expected to take on a lot, and he'll produce. But
Francisco's like, at least I get to split the load this year.
Yeah.
Right.
But those two, I did notice when I was looking at stats, Pete Alonso's off to a hot start, which is helpful. He's already got 3 homers and 10 RBIs.
Went 0 for 4 today with a hat trick of Ks.
That's what the polar bear tends to do every now and again.
It does.
Every now and again, he'll have a whole day where he does not even touch the ball.
Yeah, sometimes he does his best impression of a ceiling fan.
For sure.
He just spins and spins without touching anything.
Yeah, that's right. So that's going to be something to watch, that starting staff. Now, the bullpen is, I mean, they've got the guy with the best entrance in baseball, right?
It's awesome.
So you get Edwin Diaz coming in.
It's fun.
He's 31. Last year was not a phenomenal year for him. He only had 20 saves, but he's still Edwin Diaz. He still intimidates the heck out of hitters. I got to think he struck out 14 batters per 9 innings. Yeah. That is
dominant.
Crazy.
Yep.
What's the deal with only 20 saves?
Yeah.
He had 53 innings pitched, so it wasn't. I mean, he might have been. Was he hurt for part of the season?
He was hurt some. But he didn't have a great ERA. It wasn't like the year before where he was just kind of like locked down.
Yeah.
If you look at him, he had a 3.52 ERA, and if you look at what he had done the year before, he was an all-star, obviously. Yeah, actually, he was hurt in 23.
Yeah, he had an ACL injury. Yep,
that's right. And then, but in 22, when everyone came to know the trumpets and the entry, really, he had a 131 ERA. He had 32 saves and a .84 whip. And, that season he averaged 17.1 Ks per nine.
Wow.
So if you look at his
Two
Ks
innings.
per nine, if you look at his Ks per nine numbers over his career, they go a little something like this. 15.3, 12.1, 15.2, 15.4, 17.5, 12.8, 17.1, 14.1.
He's got some swing and miss stuff, eh?
9 years, he's averaged 14.7 Ks per nine.
Wow.
That's
That
awesome.
is pretty ridiculous. Now, can he come back from the injury? Can he get back to what he was? That's the real question. But if he does, you've got arguably the best closer in baseball. AJ Minter is a guy that they signed from the Braves to be a lefty setup guy. Good low ERA, low whip guy, high K guy. He is, from the Braves staff, so that's generally a good thing. And he's the only real lefty of note out of this bullpen. And then you've got Jose Buto, or Butto, as I refer to him.
He's a beaut, Clark.
He is a beaut. They've got him. He's a 27-year-old, another setup guy for them, 2.55 ERA. So, pretty solid back three there. Now, after that, a little dicey. You got Reed Garrett, who's just kind of there. He's an innings eater, 140 whip guy. He does strike out a lot of people, but he walks a lot of people.
He loads them
4.7.
to strike them all out.
Oh, totally. Same thing with Ryan Stanek, middle relief guy, super high ERA guy, strikes out a lot of people, walks a lot of people.
Yeah, these guys sound like journeymen.
They are a lot of journeymen once you get out of those kind of back end three. So, when you look at this team, the thing is there's a lot of question marks for me for a team that is supposed to win 92 games.
Yeah.
The Juan Soto sighting is one of those things that takes a lot of attention off of some of the other things that have gone on. Because I think if not for the Juan Soto sighting, everyone would have said this team got worse. Now, there is some upside potential, right? Like we talked about those starting pitchers and a lot of these guys that hadn't played full seasons at the back half of the lineup on offense. Some things come together, it could be magical, but it's not a proven commodity like what you've seen with some of these other teams we've looked at, where you go down the lineup and you're like, oh yeah, this guy's going to produce. I'm not worried here. This is a great three starters. There's a lot of question marks. So when I was looking at this team and I saw the 92 wins, I kept trying to do the math in my head, and I know Juan Soto's an amazing player. I know Lindor's an amazing player. I can't get there. So I'm an under on this team when I look at that win total. 91.5 feels really aggressive.
Feels like a lot.
And it feels like too much on a very small group of players on the team. And if I'm a Mets fan, I'm super worried because if any injuries happen to that small group of players,
Yes.
yikes. And we could say this as Royals fans because it's very similar. If Bobby Witt Jr. goes down, that's all. That's all she wrote.
That's it.
And if Juan Soto goes down,
It's
probably all she wrote for the Mets.
Yeah, because there's no way Lindor does the same thing again. And when you look at this lineup, and even the pitching staff, if you compare it against the Braves and Philly, they're not even close, in my opinion. This is a distant third in the East team because, yeah, you get a couple punching bags with the Nationals and the Marlins.
Yeah.
But I also don't know how the hell they got to 91 as an over-under. I mean, that might have been, I don't even know, because I think Manaea was hurt earlier in spring training.
Yeah.
And Montes, they already knew was going to be out. I don't know how they got there because Juan Soto is really good, but he's not that good.
Yeah.
Because all you got to do is walk him, and then you go to Polar Bear and a 240 guy with a 318, 320 on base, and yeah, he could run into one for sure. And 40 times this season, you're going to wish you didn't have to pitch to him.
Yep.
But the other, 560 plate appearances, he probably feel pretty good.
Yeah.
And I don't know. Now that we've gone through this team, I didn't know the bottom half was that atrocious.
The bottom half is not good, and I'd like you. I'd be if I'm pitching to this team, I'm saying a lot of, "Hey Siri,
Yeah.
want to come to bat?" Because I'm not giving a lot of meat to that top half.
No.
Right.
I'm gonna let's see if I can tiptoe around the first three, and then I'm not feeling too shabby after that. So there's not a ton. Now, I did want to say, I forgot to talk about the prospects because I think they will come into play here. They do have a couple prospects that are supposed to see time this year. One is a guy named Brandon Sproat. He's a second-round pitcher out of Florida. A lot of arms out of Florida recently.
Yeah, there is.
He was number 17 overall in the MLB system. Number one for the Mets, and they're projecting that he's probably going to get to the show this year. So he may be a guy that gets in the mix in some way in that rotation. Drew Gilbert is an outfielder. They need some more hitters. He was a first-round pick for the Astros in 22, and they got him in a trade, and they're projecting that he's going to see time this year. He's a top 50 guy too.
Okay.
So, they may have some injection of young talent later in the season where it could help the bottom half of that lineup, but it's still tough to see it. I think if you do the WAR game right, you kind of go, okay, well, last year they had 89 wins. You added an 8 WAR guy. What you lost is, probably more in the tune of 4 or 5. So maybe that's how you get there. But it's pretty suspect, I think. I would gladly wager the under pretty confidently.
Peru, I think. I don't know.
I'm
Where are
with
you at?
Yeah, I'm looking at their 24 stats real quick just to get an idea. Severino, Manaea, and Quintana combined were about 8 on the WAR scale.
Yeah.
Not quite that much, 7.5, something like that. With all those guys not there at the beginning of the season, at least, or gone permanently in the case of the 2 that were signed elsewhere. Yeah, it's going to look different this year. They're going to have to rely on the top of their lineup a lot more than their pitching. I think they attempted to balance themselves a little bit better.
Yeah.
With their terrible hitting and great pitching last year.
Right.
I think the pendulum swung too far. Like I don't think they've added nearly enough hitting to make up for their lack of pitching that they lost. So
the other thing the last thing I will say is it's really important, as we've talked about many times in the Shrewdness, is having a good Jake on your team. And they had a guy, Jake Diekman, out of the pen last year, and he's no more. He's not with the team.
Had a good Jake, and now you don't.
They had a Jake.
That's the kiss of death right there.
Now, no Jakes. So, you go from a good Jake to no Jakes.
Yeah.
That's probably 5 or 6 wins right there, just because of the Jake factor.
Yeah, they don't have the over-under Jakes, but the more the better. That's all I know.
The other thing I'm noticing is this is very much in the middle of the East, right? You got like a proven Phillies team.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Win now, Phillies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you've got, the tail end, you've got the Marlins and Nationals, who are very much like the tail end of this lineup. It's a bunch of unproven guys,
right,
who are like stringing together half a season at a time. And it just feels like the Braves and Phillies are the clear 1 and 2.
Yeah.
The Marlins and Nationals are clearly 4 and 5, and the Mets are just kind of hanging out in limbo in the middle.
Yeah.
With are we rebuilding or not? We just signed our stud for forever.
It is surprising Soto went
Juan
there.
Soto.
Like Juan Soto could go anywhere he wanted, and Yankees weren't. Their offer had to have been competitive.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And I don't know. I mean, Andy did really well there. It just seems like an odd choice to me to go to the Mets. I mean, this lineup when the Yankees lineup was pretty darn good, and they just picked up some good guys like Jazz Chisholm. And they tried some older MVP guys. They got Goldie up top. They got Cody Bellinger. They're giving him a shot. And maybe they didn't know that when he signed, but I think I don't know what the order was. I'd have to go back and look, but I wonder what, if anything, because he never really said it, or at least I never heard a story that why he chose that over anywhere else.
I didn't either.
Unless it was just pure, they gave me the most money in the most years.
I mean, that's kind of what I think it is, right?
If somebody wanted to give me a 15-year contract,
yeah, and you don't have to move.
For $51 million
and you don't have to. Yeah, you don't have to.
You can keep your big old condo and wherever the heck New York it is. Take
Right.
the subway to the games, which I'm sure is what he does.
Oh, sure.
Yeah. I don't know. It just doesn't seem like there's a lot really coming. I mean, even when you look at the prospects, so, I mean, Jet Williams is another one that's coming up, and he could potentially play some outfield. And on MLB, they have him as the number 2 and probably coming up this year potentially. Nolan
He's
McLean, another right-handed pitcher to come up this year. Another kind of miscellaneous dude, Luis Angel Acuna. I don't know if that's Acuna's brother. I don't think it is. I know his brother's out here playing somewhere, a cousin. But
I mean, he's actually
he is the brother of Ronald Acuna Jr. That's why. So I thought so.
He's actually on the squad. You know, he's shown some potential. We didn't talk about the bench any, but he has shown some potential in very limited time last year.
I don't know. I don't see a lot of help. And I don't know.
No.
And like you said, when you have a team this thin to your best guys, you are putting all your eggs in the basket. And if Humpty Dumpty spills it and falls on his head, you are done. These pitchers don't look that good to me. Even if you have the full staff, they're not. I mean, they're good.
We've seen better staffs.
That's exactly it. Now that we're on team 28,
yeah.
I don't even know if they're in the top 10 of staffs we've seen. I like Pittsburgh's better.
It seems shockingly thin for a $332 million payroll.
Yeah.
It's
totally
crazy thin for that much money. It's kind of hard to wonder where the heck it is.
How much is Lindor getting? So between Lindor and
so
I think he's about 30 something for sure.
I'll tell you what
so
they've
that's like
got.
A fourth of their payroll is Soto and Lindor.
So, yeah,
right?
Soto is Soto's making this year. He actually makes $61 million. Sorry, he averages $51 million over that contract.
And he had to be able to pay the taxes to buy his condo.
Right, Lindor is $34 million.
Yep,
and
that's 100 with 2 guys.
So that's a third of your payroll is those 2 guys.
And then Alonso is 30. So those top 3 is 130.
I bet Nimmo's at least 20.
He's 20. He's 20.5.
Yeah.
Sterling Marte is making 20.7 this year too. So
there's not gonna be too many Marte partes out there this year either. If he's riding the pine.
No. And then Edwin Diaz is making $21.5 million. So there's a lot kind of tied up in that.
Wow. Yeah, it's just
Manaea's making $25 million.
Like you can see where the money is for like San Diego. You know where the money's at. For the Braves, you see where the money's at, and you're like, that is some well spent cash. And Rangers, you can see where the money's at. Well spent cash. Here you're like, well, they spent cash.
They spent
cash, but like. Yeah, I mean, the thing is too, they've got a little bit of the old Angels contract negotiation with the years because you got the 15-year deal.
I think Rendon's a great fit. He'll be awesome here
through 39. 39. That's I can't even. My brain can't comprehend 39.
2039.
And then
39.
2039, and then Francisco Lindor. They've got signed through 2031, so that's his 37 his age 37 season. That's 2 very long, very
for a shortstop
contracts.
And a corner outfielder. That's It's not your first baseman and DH.
Huh.
Yes.
Right.
Well, I think that should wrap it up here then. I think we got more question marks than we do like feel real goods about this team.
Agree.
And I think we're all on the under. Even if it drops to like 87, I'd still be on the under. I think it's a low to mid 80s
so
team
too.
at the best.
Yeah. Yep. And especially with the Braves and Phillies are both gonna.
Maybe they'll surprise us, but
I mean the Braves are off to a bad start, but I don't care.
Yeah.
They're still going to be
Not either.
8 games better than these chumps by the end of September.
I agree.
All right. Well, I want to thank everybody for following, listening again, socials, and just for being a part of it. Thanks for being a part of the journey with us. We're having a great time. We've got a couple more teams
Check out these last 2. You got to hit them all.
That's right. We got to do all 30. We're not going to do the 28 team preview. That's stupid. No.
Please. We've still got exciting teams ahead, like the Reds and
the Giants, who are off to a hot start. They're actually winning the division over the Dodgers at this point.
right. So we've got the division leading Giants to preview.
There's a reason why we left them for last. Everyone.
That's right. And then the bottom of the central dwelling Reds. We're going to touch them all, baby. We're touching everybody.
Touch them all.
And that's just what's up. So I think with that, Prue, anything else? Any final words?
Thank you all for joining. Thanks for leading us through that Mets team.
Like, follow, subscribe. Like, follow, subscribe.
Scotty Morrison for his contributions to the show with our intro and outro music. And I think that's all we've got for this fine episode. Until next time,
stay shrewd.